Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another 80s throwback here. Another Diane Franklin movie, which is weird, right? Why her? Well, if you are new, a little over a year ago, I came across a post by Diane Franklin on Instagram, and I commented that I only really knew her from a couple of things, from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Better Off Dead, and I asked if there were some of her works that she would recommend, ones that she feels I should check out. Well, she actually responded, gave a nice lengthy response, and recommended some older 80s films that she had been in, as well as some more recent works to check out. So slowly, over this last year, as I can fit them in here and there, I've been going through them, and I've now finished with the 80s recommendations that she gave, with Deadly Lessons from 1983. Now, this was an ABC TV movie. A lot of the footage I'm just going to put up here, and it's a bit smaller, I know, but there's a reason for that, which I'll get into later. But this one featured Ali Sheedy, Nancy Cartwright, well before doing the voice of Bart Simpson, I believe, Bill Paxton, Donna Reed, and Larry Wilcox. But man, these TV movies, it's an era which has seemingly ended, except for some cable channels like Sci-Fi and Hallmark still make some stuff, as well as direct-to-streaming, but it's just not the same as what they were doing with TV movies, especially back in the 80s. But anyways, this will be a short one, but like the film, it's worth watching, hopefully. So anyways, the synopsis for this one is as follows. A psycho is stalking the students at an exclusive girls' school. A lot of detail. But yeah, it's a psycho in a TV movie, so they needed to still try to keep it kind of tame, though, basically making it barely even PG, it seems. But this death and these others to follow and like the mystery around it was still a lot of fun to check out, except for one aspect, like I said, I'll go into, and that's why I'm putting most of the footage up in the corner here when I have something to show. But anyways, our lead, Stephanie, played by Diane Franklin, arrives at this boarding school to work on her French, and feels that the place, from even just her first few minutes there, as she can tell, is a bit stuck up. It already has a lot of cliques and such. There's been some snide comments and jokes made about her, little comments thrown her way, but she's able to slowly make a few friends. But quickly after, we have a murder that occurs. And while the police are investigating, she also is investigating what's happening around this murder with the help of a farmhand played by Bill Paxton, who even he becomes a suspect at one point, as more kids are kind of being taken out while others are being evacuated entirely from this school. So the bulk of the story is kind of like this whodunit aspect of film telling, of storytelling. Navigating some of the relationships at this school while being on the lookout for any clues which as to who's kind of behind these killings, what that motive is, try to figure out who the next person is going to be and how to stay safe. Now, it is, a pretty basic TV movie, but it still has some nice twists and reveals about who's behind these murders and why, and their relationship with other people at that school. It's especially interesting to see this older style of storytelling, since we don't get many TV movies these days from broadcast stations, or whatever we would consider those big ones like CBS, ABC, NBC, and so on, with most just being from those channels that I mentioned before, like Hallmark doing their movies all the time, and Sci-Fi Channel. But they really needed to keep these programs back then relatively tame, since they would be on TV, so they really had to try hard to keep it interesting without having to go too far away from that general audience's format that they were trying to hit. And really my only issue with this, and this is why I've been showing it in the corner here, is the presentation itself. So, like Summer Girl, which actually did pretty well, I'll link to that video at the end of this one if you haven't seen it. This was pulled from a VHS copy that was recorded off of TV like 40 years ago. And it was very low quality, uploaded to YouTube, because that's all that there was. So it was only hitting 360p. Now, for those unfamiliar with what that means, most TV now is shown in like 1080p, in high definition. Some sources may be a little bit lower at 720. And of course, there are some packages for TVs where you're hitting 4K at a really high resolution. So this is half the resolution of what the lowest we typically see on HD TV nowadays is. So it's especially noticeable when you try to blow it up onto a 70-inch TV. Like even here, if I put something up full screen, you can see it's very washed out. It's kind of hard to get into it. But watching it on the PC helps a little bit more because it shrinks down the screen, looks a little bit clearer, but still overall it's very washed out, both in the video quality and in the audio, which sounded like a very muffled mono track that was recorded. Now, there isn't much that can be done about that since that's what the source material was and it's only so good, but it would be kind of interesting to see some of these older TV movies get some sort of a remastering if possible, because while they're not perfect, there are some titles like Deadly Lessons or the one I mentioned earlier, Summer Girl, which are still a lot of fun and more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this quick little video here for Deadly Lessons from 1983, which at the time of this video is available on YouTube. I will link to that at the end as well in case you're interested in checking that out. Just remember, it is a very low quality one. It's best to watch it on the PC. But like I said, I'll link to it in just a moment here. And while there isn't a lot to kind of speak about, the movie's still good, worth checking out, but a better quality version would be really nice to have one day. These old TV movies are kind of an interesting look into the past as far as how entertainment was produced back then. But that pretty much wraps up the 80s suggestions from Diane Franklin. Over the past year, I went through The Last American Virgin, TerrorVision, Amityville 2, The Possession, Summer Girl, and now Deadly Lessons, plus I worked in another rewatch of Better Off Dead. I did watch one of the new recommendations, but it was a while ago, so I want to do a rewatch of that one. I think it's called Waking Nightmares, so I might do a video for that one just down the line. But out of those ones that I hadn't seen before, I'd probably say that TerrorVision was my favorite because it was just so absolutely silly and just off the wall and very colorful, with Last American Virgin being a very close second. With both Summer Girl and this one, Deadly Lessons, being good, but I think I would have enjoyed them better if I had a better quality version to watch. Same thing with Amityville 2, as the version that I watched back then was on VHS. So I have tracked down a DVD copy of it to kind of rewatch it one day. But anyways, at least for now, I got that TerrorVision on Blu-ray, which definitely looks a lot better than how I originally watched it, which was also on YouTube. Anyways, that's a lot of rambling, and we are at the end here. That's all I've got for this one. Thanks for coming by, and especially thanks if you've been actually here since the start when I first started checking out these films you recommended. If you missed any, feel free to check out my back catalog, and I will see you in the next one.